we keep using that word impact. I think that there's evidence that is very meaningful to us.
Part of our journey and your journey as authors is knowing your definition of success, evaluating your progress towards that success, and then making decisions based on the evidence that you found in that evaluation. And this applies to the process of writing a book, but that's not the way that we first found out or first started thinking about this. It was actually from our YouTube channel.
Right. As we look about not just the journey of an author as being someone who's doing the writing, but also in the business of authorship and the distribution of the work. I think we mentioned in an earlier conversation that we had with somebody else, once you have ink on paper, you're 10% done. It's part of that other 90% where we have to think about, what does success look like? What's our definition? What does our progress look like? And our YouTube channel is part of that other 90%. When we're looking at the video that was published most recently at the time of this recording, it was video number 28. That episode, we noticed that in the first couple dozen seconds, maybe in the first 30 seconds, we lost about 90% of the viewers. People came, and in that first few seconds, they said, this one's not for me. And it really made us stop and think, as we look at this, should we be changing something? Should we be doing something different? And we asked ourselves, well, who are we making videos for anyway?
And with the goal of being New York Times bestsellers as one of our stated goals, we understand that if we do accomplish that, in the future, we will have a much bigger audience than we do right now. And we're creating these videos as almost a time capsule for our future audience to be able to look back on and see, here's the journey that they took to get to the place that I now want to be in.
I like the picture of the time capsule. It's a good metaphor.
Yeah. And so with that being said, our target audience isn't you. It's people 20 years from now or so who exist after we have already become New York Times bestsellers. But a YouTube channel is not sustainable if its target audience exists solely in the future. And so we also have a very present target audience.
So when we say it isn't you, I mean, obviously it is you because you're here, whether you're here from now or whether you're here from 20 years in the future. But the point still stands that even for those who are watching close to the time that we're recording, there is still a reason for us to communicate with you and a way for us to serve you. And that is really attracting the people who, like us, want to pursue the kind of excellence and impact that will result in the kind of distribution that would be recognized by somebody like the New York Times best-selling list as a kind of after the fact evidence that we have put in the work to become the people who can create the work, who can have the impact that we're trying to have, and we can serve the people we're trying to serve.
Right. And one of the things that is necessary in having that kind of impact is, like you said, the excellence and understanding your audience. There's advice that gets thrown out there sometimes of just write for yourself. Don't worry about what everybody else thinks. Write for yourself. And there is some good part to that advice, but also if you're only looking at writing for yourself and you don't care about what other people think at all, you're not going to be able to have that impact. So I think there's kind of like three different levels. There's writing just for yourself. Okay. There's writing for the market in that so that way you can have a big reach, and maybe also some of that is so that way you can bring in more money for yourself. But then there's also writing to serve the people. And I think specifically looking at writing to serve the individual. How will what I write impact the single person who reads that? What impact can I have to have a lasting impression on their life? Not just, oh, that was a good book. We kind of talked about that a little bit last week, of having that impact on somebody's life.
I think if we look at those last two, one of them, serving the market, really serves the breadth of the impact. Serving the person, serving that reader, speaks to the depth of the impact. And if the measure of success is to be recognized by someone like New York Times and put on their bestseller list, it's going to take a little bit of both. We want both to reach people deeply and reach a broad range of people. But finding the balance, how much of this do we use market serving, the kinds of things that boost sales, and how much of this do we spend time investing in how do we really reach the person and to communicate as deeply as we can with that person who's reading?
And one of the methods that we can use to kind of strike that balance is having a community of people who have the same goal that we do. Having that goal, even if it's not specifically New York Times bestseller, having that goal of having an impact on people, excellence in writing, and writing books that are not just a nice read, but have an impact on people.
We keep using that word impact. I think that there's evidence there that is very meaningful to us, but it's very difficult to measure. It's hard to set a goal, something to pursue where we can say, here's how I know I'll have impact, other than if you have an impact, people will talk about it, people talk about it, people want to buy it, and then it shows up on your New York Times bestseller list. So we've talked about a search for a community. There's so many different communities. A lot of them have that mentality like you were describing. You got to write for yourself because most people won't succeed if you measure your success any other way. So you have to write what makes you happy. We're looking for a community, at least in the now term, not the 20 years from now term. But we want to have a community, and maybe as the 20 years from now, to have had a community of people who, like us now in 2024, are interested in the kind of personal growth, pursuit of excellence, and we'll say it again, impact that is necessary to have a result that would be recognized by somebody like the New York Times best-selling list. If that sounds like you, where you're ready for that personal growth, that investment in becoming that excellent author who can have that impact, we'd invite you to send an email to addplaceholdertext@gmail.com and just put the word community in the subject line to let us know that you're interested. I don't know what we'll do with that. There's no promise that we're going to make a community, but that would be a way that you could show us that you're at least one of those who's interested in that kind of pursuit.
Right. If that's you, we look forward to hearing from you. Subscribe to our channel so you can join us on this journey, so we can grow together. And we look forward to seeing you in the next week.